Democrats took control, and thanks for having me on today. That's exactly what happened. Is the Democrat Party is the party of gun control, has been for many, many years, and will be for the foreseeable future. And I think everything that you're talking about just shows it. And I know Connecticut well. I graduated high school in Connecticut in Simsbury. And back in those days, I'm probably a little bit older than you, but we were plinking out in people's backyards, and it wasn't a problem. The laws weren't the same as they are today. So a lot has changed. And you mentioned, we've got an incoming administration that is probably seen as the single most vicious towards the right to keep and bear arms that this country has ever seen. We know that from their own words. We ignore them at our own peril. But there are some positive things happening out there, too. And you mentioned Tennessee looking at becoming the 19th state. This comes on the heels of Utah and Montana just passing what we know as constitutional carry, which eliminates the burden and the necessity to pay a fine or a fee or a tax to simply get to be able to carry a concealed firearm or an openly carried firearm. The Second Amendment plainly states it's an infringement. And I think what that is when you look back at the history in 1987, Florida rolled out what we now know to be the current permit system. You've now got all 50 states that have a permit system, and those permit carriers have proven themselves to be the single most law-abiding people in those states. Now you're to the point where why do we have to pay a tax? And that's where we are. And so there's a lot of positive things happening as well.
Yeah, what's funny is I have a lot, look, I'm a former Navy SEAL. I'm an avid shooter. So I take a lot of my friends shooting and things like that. So one of my friends goes, well, I want to get into guns. I said, okay, great. Here's the permitting process. And he was like, what the heck is this? This is taking me like 9 months to get my darn permit. And I said, welcome to the most persecuted group of Americans that are the most law-abiding group of Americans. And I look at this and I say, you've states like Maine, where I have family, you go up there, it's constitutional carry, and there's virtually no gun crime. I mean, it's all about culture, not about guns. So talk to us a little bit about why we should be less concerned about the firearm as a unit and more concerned about the culture that we're portraying.
Well, a good example would be Chicago. Let's contrast Chicago, where they scream for more gun control year after year after year. Now, sadly, on my programs, I've covered the death and the carnage in Chicago for the last 12 years on national radio, and the numbers are horrific. They've got some of the strongest gun control that this country has seen anywhere in the nation, outside maybe New Jersey and parts of California. Yet the carnage on the streets in Chicago is massive. But what they do is they continue to blame states like Indiana or Wisconsin for the influx of their guns, which leads me to ask the question, if there are so many bad guns in Indiana and Wisconsin causing the problem in Chicago, why aren't those same tools causing those same problems in Indiana and Wisconsin? So it's just proof positive that gun control has failed policy. Unfortunately, we're getting ready to see more of that. As you know, we've got proposals across the board right now. Nancy Pelosi, Dick Durbin, and Chuck Schumer have insisted that they're going to push for more gun control this coming week. And I can promise you it's coming. It's coming.
Yeah, and like I always say, it's about culture. It is not about the firearm itself. And real quick, I got about 30 seconds left. The issue that most concerns me about this permitting process and in the way it's the creeping gradualism. So if people allow the government to, it's just, why does my compromise as a gun owner always involve the government getting more power and me giving up something else?
Well, that's pretty much the Democrats' rule of thumb, and that is agree with me or the heck with you. Compromise to a Democrat means agree with me or the heck with you. And it always seems to be the gun rights community that's asked to give something up. And I'm here to tell you, as a member of the board of directors of the Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms and an activist in this community, we're done compromising. Shall not be infringed mean what it says, and we're going to stand and fight.